January is a bit of a low point in the cheese calendar. There's not as much rich milk around as you can imagine. In fact, there isn't quite as much milk at all because grazing isn't excellent. In fact, it's very poor. And one of the things one should look out for, therefore, that time of year, because let's be truthful, one should be eating cheese every single month, is cheese that perhaps was made several months before and made particularly when the milk was at its best. And by that I mean cheese is made in the summer. This is a typical summer cheese. It may not look very typical because in fact it's an English equivalent of a pecorino, which is why it has this fascinating shape and texture. It's been moulded to look very much like a pecorino style cheese. And that's exactly what it is. It's made with the finest ewe's milk. And I love ewe's milk. They're probably, of all the cheeses in the repertoire, they're probably some of my favourites because it's a very rich milk and it has a sort of sweetness about it. And that sweetness is very much shown here in this cheese. I've been a bit coy about telling you what it's called. It's a bit of a mouthful. It's called Lord of the Hundreds. I've already cut the cheese so that you have a much better idea of the texture, and you can see there's slight holy marks within it. That's perfectly normal and natural. This is such a cheese to smell because it's got this incredible sweetness about it. And when you eat it, this sweetness really does come through in these flavours of fruit. It's a bit Jilly Goulden to talk about apples, strawberries, raspberries, but my goodness, this cheese has all of these sort of things going on. Quite a lot of melon and quite a lot of apple. I'm going to cut a piece so that you can see the texture. So it's firm, but it's got some give, and it really is an incredibly tasting, sweet, lovely, glorious cheese. I particularly selected this 10-year-old tawny port to drink with the Lord of the Hundreds. You might be lucky enough to have some port left after Christmas, and particularly if it's this 10-year-old tawny style. The reason I think it's such an incredible match with Lord of the Hundreds is that tawny port's quite different from LBV and vintage. It spends its entire life in a barrel, so it's tawny in colour and a much more elegant and lighter port. It also tastes of dried fruit and nuts, and it's that matches this wonderful sheep's milk cheese so very, very perfectly. It's really a combination that I really can't resist.